I think I faced the guy that did the best. It was my dad's cousin who did great all year, and then just team fell apart in the finals, which is me everywhere else.
Which is me as well in my other leagues.
Right.
Not great in the finals.
Oh.
Not up in here.
Man, I had this whole plan of attack coming into the week, and then it just none of it unfolded in my favor, you know?
Yeah. So, again, the guy that you lose to likely in our keeper league is my brother Greg, who I defeated in the family league. Family league vis-a-vis, I beat you, right?
No, because we're actually playing in a championship against each other.
I'm going to tell you, it's not looking good. So
it could be going better for you. Yes.
So I had a couple things go wrong towards the end of the year. I was hoping Christian would come back. Did not happen. Sounds like he's not coming back next week. So Christian out this whole year.
Right.
Other guy, Ronald Jones, started to come on. I believed in him. I wanted it to happen. It was happening. The breakout was real. And again, had he played in that game where they had 50 points at the half,
right?
You got to think some of those points would have been his.
You would think.
But wasn't to be. And my other one, Jarvis Landry, hopping on the COVID list last second. So I was pressed into playing Zach Ertz, who...
Yeah, what a weird situation that unfolded.
Honestly, a lot of my guys showed up. CeeDee Lamb came through big for me with 2 touchdowns.
Right.
He was giving me everything he's got.
I tell you what, I was at one point projected to win by 40, and I felt pretty good about it. And then CeeDee Lamb is just like...
Started rallying.
Hold on. Let me step in here.
Happy holidays, NBA.
Guess which Dallas player ruined my week?
Oh, was it CeeDee Lamb?
Was it Zeke?
I know we had
Zeke went over 100. I mean,
Zeke got some points.
I'm just saying.
We were asked before the show if you would do Zeke or Pollard, and I went with Pollard, and you went with Zeke, and Zeke was the right call.
Yep. Demir Bird has to catch that. We're a couple seconds behind here, Sohan, unfortunately. We did see the Bass field goal, so 3-3 knotted up here in tonight's game.
If you held on to Bass, we kind of warned against him because he's kicking in Foxborough outdoors, but got one for you. So people are playing him.
Yeah. What we have going tonight is I have Stephon Diggs, you have Zach Moss.
And I'm down 10.
And you're down, 9 and change.
So Zach Moss.
So not... Well, I'll say it seems unlikely. There was the most Zach Moss has outscored Diggs by is 8 points. And it happened to be week 8 against the Patriots.
Well, there you go. It's happening.
So there is precedent here, but we'll see.
So I did look back as to what Zach Moss' highest point total was, and it was, I think, like 20.5 points.
That was week 8.
So, okay, that was the week
Patriots, who they're playing tonight.
Diggs, he had a little bit of a foot issue. They said it's nothing, but hey, that could get aggravated.
He doesn't have a catch yet.
What I need is for Moss to just run in 3 touchdowns and say, hey, you know what? We're going to win this game. Let's just take Diggs out. We want to rest him. Don't want to aggravate that.
Yeah, no, don't like that as much.
There's a world of possibility where, it's a long shot. I'm not banking on it, but...
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance.
Marcio, welcome in.
Hey, glad to have you back,
absent from yesterday's show,
we missed you.
That's
missed you. That's
we'll
all right.
forgive it.
I saw her in the Discord, so we knew you were still alive. Hopefully you got some sports bets in this week to make it interesting if your teams are out. But
NBA says, nope, not CD, not Zeke. It's Dalton. He scored more than Mike Kyler. I made the call about what? The week after Dak, actually pretty much the week Dak went out.
Oh, the Dalton would be all right.
Yeah, the Red Rifle
I think this is
not bad at football.
This is more an indictment on Kyler.
And there you go.
It was bad. Kyler
Grab
had
for
a
your
bad
championship week.
That's
Kyler
the other
was
guy.
not looking good.
The other guy that let me down was Kyler. If Kyler had shown up like he did last week, these 2 weeks, we probably would be the champion of our co-managed league, which is, we are locked up at second now in there. Devontae Adams, he tried, man. He tried to put the team on his back. Scored a ton of points, kept us alive, but we had guys, again, had Christian come back, had Kenny Galladay decided to fire it up.
Kenny Galladay would have helped me in a couple places, actually. So
that happens, though. Sometimes
unlucky.
If your guy can't play, they're just as bad as playing.
I don't know where you're going with this, but I like it.
Any other awful player that doesn't get any points.
Marcio, we missed you, too. We're glad you're back.
Oh, yeah.
You help out immensely. So keep it up. Keep track of all these shenanigans going on in the chat. Which QBs are you targeting next year is the question, says NBA.
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert.
That's the guy I'm going with. I can't imagine he'll go super high, but he might have to reach a tiny bit, and I think I'm going to reach for Herbert. I like Herbert.
Honestly, I'm kind of liking Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, you're gonna have to pay up for it.
Is it just me or the Bills uniforms kind of growing on you?
You mentioned that you like it. This uniform.
I like the red one better.
It would look
the
great
red
if it's just Zach Moss on the back, just running the ball in over and over.
Yeah.
Then it would look really good to me. But
Yeah, no, I think your top 5 quarterbacks next year is going to be an interesting debate, but I think you got to put Kyler in there. You got to put Russell Wilson at least for the first 6 games of the season. After that,
you noticed that,
Patty Mahomes.
So the championship ring.
You just own that permanently, though, correct?
Well, again, I bought it when I won a championship last year. I won another one this year. So if there's a year when I don't win a championship, I'll take it off for that year. But
fair enough.
Now just sleep with it. Yeah.
Josh, my guy, Herbert will have to pay up as well, 6th round. I think both those quarterbacks will go high.
I don't know. Again, I would imagine that Josh Allen goes before Justin Herbert. Would you agree?
I think Josh Allen will go above Herbert if I don't know.
So let's see.
The rushing attack from Josh Allen is really the key.
Quarterbacks that will go before Herbert, you got to think Mahomes, Lamar, Kyler. Even though Lamar had a down year, I think he'll still go ahead of him. People will be back on the Rodgers train.
I disagree. I think if I'm rating him now, I'm still going Patrick Mahomes. I'm going Kyler Murray 2. Then I'd probably go. I'll probably go Josh Allen, then Dak, then Deshaun Watson, then Herbert.
That could be interesting. And again,
That's
we
my top
talked
7.
about whether he'll be back for the first game of the year. That'll make a difference.
Russell Wilson, I would love to put up there, but again, this is back-to-back years of him going gangbusters for the first 8-10 weeks and then nothing towards the end, which I would much rather have the other way around.
Well, Josh Allen also came on hot at the start and then cooled down a tiny bit, but
you're still getting 25 to 30 out of him every week, and Russ has been under 22, 23 points.
I'm tempted to try and flip those super hot quarterbacks like mid-season.
So, we were talking about this last week, I believe. Tell Mike to read my comment. And there you go.
I apologize. All right. Sitting in Evans, Vermeis says hi from Rockford. All right. Good to see you. We're going to try to get together, but when are you taking off? Wednesday?
Russell Wilson's ranked since week 10. I bet he is 17 or 18. Josh should go before Russ and Kyler. I think I'd go Kyler and then Josh. I think the Arizona Cardinals offense is still going to get more and more fluid. And the Bills, I don't know. I like the Bills passing attack, but it's kind of maxed. Russ ranked 20. Yeah, that's not very good. That's pretty poor.
No, not the finish, but again, I think you saw the potential for kind of what he can do if things go right. Weird how they faded, but again, long story short, there's a whole bunch of quarterbacks I think could be very productive next year. So I will not reach for a quarterback. I will not take a quarterback before the 7th round.
I didn't finish making my point earlier. Year in, year out, the reason so many people say, fade the quarterbacks in the draft, you can stream them, playoff waivers, you can grab a couple late. It doesn't really matter. The last 3 or 4 years, it has 100% mattered. So that's old fantasy football. That's how it's been for 15 years. There's only like 1 or 2 circumstances where drafting high quarterback was a viable play for more than 1 year, and we're kind of in a short stretch where that is the case. I don't imagine that's going to continue for too much longer. So I don't know. I think I would draft one of those guys if I don't have to use my top 3 rounder. If I can take a quarterback in the 4th, 5th, and it's Josh Allen or one of the high guys, I'm still okay with that.
It's a lame slogan, overrated, let Russ cook. Yeah, he cooked for a while and the meal was done.
Yeah, he cooks too fast, and then
and now it's all burnt and not great.
Yep.
So a guy who minor interest though, like if you're going late, Baker had some good days. I think that if things start to come together there, they were better coached this year. Browns gonna Browns. They might miss the playoffs still, but that last week you can't put on them so much as just they had guys that.
But again, they're the rushing attack. Takes away the ceiling.
One moment it's a bunch of guys just sitting in a hot tub. Next minute everybody's infected. It happens.
Will the Tiger King be back?
That was
next
another
year?
name I wanted to touch on. Joe Burrow, the Tiger King.
I saw Tiger.
I don't have him too much further behind these guys. Honestly,
I thought I saw some things saying he might be back like week 2 or 3. He might miss the first couple games, but no, he played well. If they get some offensive line, I want to see him draft some line. Another guy that's going to be out, Joe Mixon, they did get the official word he's going to be out the rest of the year. All the guys that they kept being like, he might play. All those guys now are just like, no, we're done.
Yeah, no. Anytime a Bengal gets hurt now, you just assume they're not coming back.
Yeah, no, never. They need some help on their training.
Got a
staff
hangnail and out for the season.
And Joe Yep. AJ Green, he's just got no feet.
But AJ Green next year is going to be a thing.
Oh, now's the breakout when he goes to Green Bay.
Ooh.
There you go.
Okay.
Nick's interested. His interest is peaked.
Now I'm in.
But yes, Joe Burrow will be back. Trevor Lawrence will be in the NFL next year, and he won't be on the pitiful Jets. He will be on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Would you be confident drafting him year one?
Again, I think that obviously people in Dynasty have heard of him. They know that he's going to go high. In Superflex, he's going at the 1-1. In regular Dynasty, he's going to go in that first round. I would guess, the mid to late first round, depending on how much hype the wide receivers and running backs. And there are some guys that have some pretty nice hype around them already.
Right.
But, yeah, I think that in redraft, I think here's what you got to look at. Like, you look at Herbert, you look at Joe Burrow. Like, they were pretty fantasy relevant. So
absolutely.
I think that a strategy you could go with is get him as late as you can and then throw another guy who, has got a little bit kind of more of a early season week schedule who people aren't looking at. Because there'll be guys out there that'll produce this year, things like guys like Roethlisberger, Rivers, even Rodgers himself was out there and people had, left them out there in a couple of leagues. So that it won't be Rodgers again, but there'll be some of the older guys.
Honestly, you can probably get Russ late again and start him until you can't. Start streaming quarterbacks and just don't have him be your every week solution.
There's a wide variety of quarterbacks you should be able to get away with. You know who you could pick up and you could have played and maybe going forward that might have some
Big Mama's biscuits.
I knew it was coming.
Mitchell Trubisky's out there.
That doesn't make it any better.
He's playing up to getting 40 points on the board for the Bears offense. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
The Bears.
It helps when there's a tank delivering it to
just
you.
Definitely set up for disappointment against Green Bay.
Marcio wants me to purchase an AJ Green jersey if that happens, and
you can get them for 38 cents.
You'd be surprised. Very expensive.
Just, what are when they have the divisional games and they make the T-shirts so that either team will be ready for them, and the one that loses they send to Africa. Right. Like they also have just a box of AJ Green jerseys that they also send to Africa just with them. So maybe if you can get in on that deal.
That's all the Rojo jerseys. I'm pretty sure.
Ronald will be back. Top 12 running back next year. Come on.
Duffire F's for fantasy football being over after tonight. I know that's really the worst part, right?
Yeah. Anybody out there, if you're listening, does anybody play in a Week 17 league where it still matters?
Because why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself?
There are some. I've heard of some things like they'll just have everybody keeps their team and they play like one game in Week 17 for something else or something, just to have somewhere extra fantasy. But yeah. Again, if you do, the reason for that, it looks like the Kansas City Chiefs have locked up the bye, so they're going to be sitting there good guys. So if you got there off the backs of Mahomes and Kelsey, even though Mahomes didn't show up for me as much as I needed this week, they'd be sitting, and then it would screw it up, even though you had a good team.
Marcio's offering to make a DraftKings room for Week 17 in playoffs.
All right.
I'm in for that.
Yeah.
I'm in for that.
I think I had a DraftKings account, and I just ignored it, so I could try and dust it off.
So the Bills go for the fake here and end up getting the first. So the fake punt and gets them a first down and short pass to Stephon Diggs for 2 yards.
Don't want
there
that.
we go. I like that.
How's his foot? Is it hurt? Is he okay?
Nope. There's no injury designation in here.
You don't want to risk these things. You don't want to risk it before
I'll do it for this week and send it in Discord. Perfect. So if you want in the short-term listener league, jump in the Discord.
The 1 week listener.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I don't know if I mentioned, but I need the other thing that could win me a league where it's very unlikely is if the Buffalo Bills, if their defense gets one or less points, I will steal a championship. That one was a league where I lost Saquon right away, lost week 1, lost week 2 with him. He went down, won all the rest of the games, and my team just not quite getting it done. Kyler hurt me in the finals here. And, yeah, that'd be a great one to win. Not expecting it. But the Buffalo Bills, fun fact, 2 weeks this year they have finished with one or less points for their defense.
So it has happened.
DST. It's not unprecedented.
You're saying there's a chance. Let's see. Bills win this week. Which opponent do you think they'll face in the first round? I don't know even how the playoff seeding is going to work.
There's still a lot of things shaking out. Again, the one that I've been paying the closest attention to, us being big Chicago fans, is just the Bears. If Arizona were to lose, they're in. But really what they need is to beat the Packers. So with that Arizona game, it looks like Goff broke his thumb, so I don't think he's going to play. So he's there. So the Cardinals are playing the Rams, and also Kyler got hurt, so it's kind of questionable whether he'll go. I expect that he's got the better chance to play, but that'll be interesting. But still, I saw a post from like the Bear, or it was some article. I don't even think it was put out by the Bears organization, but it was like, oh, Bears have this big upset thing happen that really makes it hard for them to make the playoffs of where, and they're talking about the thumb getting injured, and all Bears fans were just like, beat the Packers, don't care about that game, don't want to hear about it, don't want to back into the playoffs.
Doesn't matter.
Beat them or you're all fired. Win and you're okay.
Yep.
And it couldn't be more like every post was just like, don't care about that. Like, beat those Packers or get out.
Rams will lose, so I expect Chicago and Arizona will make it. Rams out. I think if the Rams lose and the Bears lose, I think the Bears are still out. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
I think so. I think Arizona would get it. And just the Packers game, the Packers looked so good in that game. I hate to admit it, but Aaron Rodgers was great. Their running backs, A.J. Dillon.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Devontae Adams was just unstoppable. Everybody was just sliding around. And we were talking in the Discord, like, how is it that every year, that stadium's been there for 100 years, people have gone there and played in winter.
Right.
How is it you don't know it's going to be cold and that your guys are going to need some cleats, like some big-ass studs on their cleats? How do you possibly have guys sliding around when then the Packers not? Like, how do you not have the exact same shoes? How?
They do. They're just making a different. That's just
unbelievable.
That's just TV. Don't buy it.
Every year the announcer's like, oh, the advantage because it's cold and they slip around. It's like they've never played on a frozen. Like, every year for 1 billion years, this stadium's been there. They can't go somewhere cold and practice for a week. Like,
okay, the better question is, how come every sideline when the guys run off, it's always slippery? So they just slip and fall. Why can't you just have turf back there where you don't slip and fall?
That is a good point. But again, if you've ever walked on like in football cleats, because they got like a lot of them have the metal on the bottom and you hit like just cement or something.
Yeah, it's like ice.
100%. Like in high school, same way. You'd be walking in the locker room, everybody's just like that.
Why not have some rubber mats or something where you're not going to fall?
Idea. We should.
That makes way less sense.
We should make that and just market it. Because again, like, I haven't seen any that I can remember where a large injury resulted from that. But yeah, guys are just falling and busting themselves every time.
Right. Let's see. Wait, this is the last show of the year. I did put finale in the tag, but
this is the last show of this fantasy season. Correct. As the season will end for basically everybody after this game. However, not the last show. The Addicts. Part of the reason I wanted to create this show was the off season came around last year, and I was watching the couple shows that still were on that were talking about things, and I exhaust those. I was like, I need more fantasy football. Is anybody talking?
I need more.
Is anybody talking about the 4th round rookies? Does anyone want to talk about Antonio Gandy Golden right now? It's like, we got to start a podcast so we can talk about
nobody
it.
does.
Somebody out there wants to hear why, like Von Miller, Van Jefferson, why Van Jefferson is going to be in 5 years a great wide receiver in the NFL.
Who dropped that touchdown, by the way? Was that Zach Moss that dropped it?
Probably.
What number is Zach Moss? Is he 25?
Let's see. Now it looks like they're circling a guy who's wide out.
Yeah, but I think that's a running back number.
Not a great throw, is it?
Oh,
that's a pretty good throw. Let me see here. So that was number 25, right?
Correct. Oh, Jones. Somebody Jones.
Oh, thank goodness. I feel better about it. So now I don't have to beat myself up.
And then Zach Moss, 11-yard rush. So,
all right, keep it going, Zach. Get in that end zone.
First and goal from the 10.
Down the rock.
That's a wide receiver touchdown if I've ever seen one.
Moss.
Up the
He's
middle
like,
for
you know what? I'm going to let Zach get this touchdown.
Banjo says, howdy. Welcome in, Banjo.
Right. Now Moss looks like he gets out. Banjo, glad to see you. Start rooting for Zach Moss.
No streaming the playoffs at all. We haven't really set our playoff schedule. I would like to cover some, and we can double up on even if the Bears make it. That may be the call. Well, we talked about, would people watch if we stream from the couch? I think if we watch the Bears game and stream from the couch, people would still watch.
It's because, again, you're torn because it is. I have a lot of fun, watching the games and doing the chat and having people reacting. But I probably got to give the Bears pretty full attention on that one.
I don't know if they deserve all of our attention.
If they can win, if they can beat Green Bay, and
I know the chat's filled with Packer fans.
Just let me feel your hate.
But this is what I want.
All right, you tell me. Hold on, I'm listening for you.
If I want to play the Packers twice.
This is the way.
Okay.
I want to play them twice. I want to beat them week 17, go into the playoffs, face them again, and beat them again.
I watched
because that's the only way I'm going to be okay with signing Mitchell Trubisky.
I watched them play Tennessee, and
that's the only way.
And if we're hoping the Bears to make a deep run, I don't want to see the Green Bay Packers at all, especially at Lambeau.
And guess
they
what?
looked.
If you make it to the playoffs and you lose to the Packers,
and then they can at least blow it up,
you're not getting signed. That's it. Then we don't have to worry about it. It's over and done with, or we win, and that's great.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
That's what I want. That's what I want.
All right. Yeah, I don't know, man. If they can beat the Packers twice, especially if they can win at Lambeau.
And honestly, I kind of hope you crush us.
Yeah, you know, Nick has been rooting for the regime change and the Trubisky on the train out of town, and that might be the better long term. But boy, it would be nice to beat the Packers a couple times.
Because if for some reason we beat them this once,
nothing from what I have watched of the Green Bay Packers make me believe that the Bears would beat them. But if they did, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. They got stomped by the Buccaneers, and we beat the Buccaneers. So
it's been a weird year. They've had some letdown losses. The
Yeah.
Bears obviously just disappeared for like the middle of the football season.
Yeah,
it wouldn't shock me if the Bears lose this next game. Like that's what I've been expecting. Kind of once I heard the whole scenario of how it needed to play out. Like Green Bay still has some things to play for, so I'm expecting they'll put their guys in. And even if they didn't. A.J. Dillon, let's talk about him because one of the things we wanted to touch on tonight were guys to watch. We'll talk about guys to watch going forward and some people that are kind of – that one game is going to push him up the draft boards just on hype alone. But
right.
A lot of things can happen. Aaron Jones is a free agent. I believe Jamal Williams is also a free agent. And Dillon, they drafted highly. He looked really good, especially in the cold weather. Poor Lambeau Leap, though. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, well,
not the vertical you got to worry about. He's not going to jump over the pile.
I did catch part of the explanation saying that usually there's fans in there to kind of help you up, and it's a lot higher than you think.
That's I think it was Collinsworth was saying the same thing.
Yeah,
like,
that was the excuse.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like it dips a little. The fans usually
at least they gave him an out. You know that was nice.
Somebody else on the team just pushing on him, but yeah, he's a big boy. So
how bad is Joe Buck though? He's still not great.
You know, Joe Buck's grown on me. I think I like him better now that he's gotten older. I feel like he says less stuff just to say stuff now. Like
Zach Moss touchdown.
Zach Moss. Oh, it's happening. It's happening.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, and
That's
let's while we got Marcy here, she's paying attention. Let's talk about another letdown this week. Marcy, you weren't here to root on Young Ho, to kick that field goal, to take me to overtime where I had Kelsey and Mahomes. Man, I could have used that overtime, and a Young Ho lets me down.
So, Mike,
devastating.
That puts
Moss CD, thank you. Thank you for your prayers. Keep sending energy to Moss. The other guys on the Bills are just dropping touchdowns left and right, trying to get Moss in the end zone.
That only puts you 1.2 points behind me.
Ooh, it's happening. Come on.
1.2 points behind me.
Yes.
We'll do it live.
That is...
Oh, that can't... Is that right?
I don't feel good.
Man.
I don't feel good. He has 8.9 points, and Diggs only has 0.7.
I was looking at this matchup before the weekend again. I'm down because of Christian not being there. I'm down because of Ronald Jones. I'm down because of Jarvis. I'm looking at the teams. I'm like, there's just no chance. And I'm not one to call it right away and just give up. So I still how can I squeeze every point out of this lineup? I start the Colts defense against Pittsburgh, who's been struggling. They get me 0 points. Pat Mahomes, just... like one of his worst. A lot of things were going bad. And then all of a sudden, again, CeeDee Lamb rides in on his white stallion and he just puts on his cape and CeeDee Lamb, oh my gosh.
And so many disappointments
there
on my
he is
team
in the end zone, keeping me alive. Yeah, and DeAndre Hopkins kind of vanished for you.
Not good.
But Mike Evans, if Terry had played and got like 5 points and Mike Evans had been on your bench with 30, there's just been 100 things that's like, I either could have been just nowhere near or way ahead, and we're just right there. So we both made some missteps. We both made some good calls.
That is brutal, but here we go.
All right.
We're doing it. It's fine.
So,
everything's fine.
Again, in the league that I'm playing, just fun fact, because you may be playing in different leagues with different formats, some defenses can't go below 0. The way that the one that I'm in, I believe if the Patriots score over 45 points, that's negative 5. And if they score over... If they rush or if they have over 500 total yards, that's like another negative 5. So
that seems
there's
like a lot.
a negative 2 mark before
like
those. But yeah, so if the Patriots offense, which I have no faith that they're going to be good, Edelman's out. Cam hasn't been good. But if Cam wants to just go nuclear and rush in like 18 touchdowns, trying to get a contract next year, Super duper.
Good
they
for
have
you.
to answer with Moss. Come on, it's happening. Join me in my delusion.
God, this is scary, and I'm uncomfortable. All right, let's talk about a couple.
All right, whose name am I mispronouncing?
Young Ho,
Oh, what is it? Hung Wei?
something like that.
Well, that guy really blew it for me.
So who is your fantasy MVP? Not necessarily on your team, but who is the guy that you?
I am going to go with one on my team.
Okay,
Calvin Ridley. He was a guy that I got later, so you could get a couple running backs before. I had all the faith in the world in him. He was my guy, and he hasn't disappointed. He's stayed pretty healthy on the year. Even with Julio, when Julio's been there, he's been good. When Julio's been out, he's been good. Again, he's kind of the changing of the guard. I think he's going to be the number one guy moving forward.
nice banjo.
How do you feel about Julio Jones next year? Because that's one I've been looking at. Like,
Honestly, this may be the time you can actually get him.
Yeah,
because where I didn't want to take him before, he's probably going to be maybe a value because he's going to go 12th off the board.
So there are
14th
guys
off the board.
like that, and I would comp him to Odell Beckham Jr. this year, where it's like, all right, he had a letdown year the year before. He's getting a little bit older, but he's still, a talented guy. When he was out there, he showed flashes. Odell had some good games, had some bad games, got injured. Like, it wouldn't shock me if that was exactly the arc of Julio. Like, comes out, has some big games. If he came out and had a big game quick and you got him a little bit later, I might try to flip him and move up or just kind of advance.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad thought. I don't know if they can with his contract, but potentially.
Yeah, Odell, they seem to be better on offense without him. I don't like Odell. Again, I think the things I've heard about him, and this has been from multiple different places when I hear people talking, is that Baker kind of, I think, got a little starstruck and was like trying to feed him, felt like he had to get him the ball.
Right.
And people feel like Baker's been a little bit better. Yeah, that's right. Tariq was your guy. If you've watched the show at all, know that I don't hate Tariq Cohen as a guy. I hate him as a football player on the Chicago Bears. I'm not even saying he couldn't be good if he went to Kansas City or something, but just the Bears.
I'm not even going to try and make a prediction after an entire year off.
I
wouldn't mind grabbing him
Is
late.
he worth a bench stash in a dynasty league?
Yeah.
Okay, so I could see that if you have a deep bench.
I wouldn't drop him.
But man, even Tariq, you thought was going to have a breakout. He had a ton of targets. I don't think he'll ever reach that same amount of targets with the Chicago Bears because I think they've seen that it works better without him. Like David's
I don't
the
think
guy.
they've seen anything. If there's anything I know about the Bears, it's they have no idea what they're doing.
The emergence
That's the
of
only thing
David
I know.
Montgomery to an extent, again, I know David's not your guy, but you got to admit now that
I think Nagy and Pace get to Hallis Hall and they're like, "What do you guys want to try today?"
yeah,
and none of it seems to be working.
just a jet sweep to Tariq, on second down,
Yeah, no, that's a good one, Bambo. I like that trade for you. My fantasy MVP has got to be Diggs. I do own him in one spot, but he's been the most consistent, the most targeted.
Yeah,
I love having him on my team, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of how you thought he could be. On the Vikings, he wasn't targeted enough. He was the field stretcher, and you knew there was more that he could do. And it's coming out in Buffalo.
Yeah, so Diggs was another one that was kind of a lot of people were down on. He was going low in drafts, which is part of why I liked him. And my thought process that why people didn't like him, Josh Allen's not very accurate. But if you looked at kind of the metrics, Diggs has one of the widest catch radiuses in the NFL. So as long as Josh can get it close to him, he's got a better chance. People have said, Josh has gotten so much more accurate. Has he, or is maybe Diggs really good at going and getting the ball? I think it's a little bit of both. But
it's an ascending offense. It's a young quarterback that's only getting better. It's got a coach that seems to figure this offense out. They're on their way up, and they like to throw the ball.
Well, yeah. Bam says Devontae Adams is my MVP, and honestly, probably the real fantasy MVP.
The knock is the injury now. He's very good.
Yeah, no, he's been amazing.
Very good.
He's throwing up monster games just week in and week out. Did it when it counted in a lot of times. So I think that's probably what I would go with as the overall. People make an argument for Kamara, but Kamara had a couple weeks where he disappeared. And I was watching another podcast where they're talking about they noticed Kamara winning a lot of third, fourth place matchups.
Right.
So a lot of people that had him weren't in the
because he didn't do
finals.
anything the week before.
Exactly. So I think Devontae Adams is that's probably my honest answer of, the guy that
I don't know
helps
if
him
Devontae needs to play 16 games.
Well, how many did he play this year? Did he miss 3 or 4? He played enough
let's
this year, and he played them when you needed them, that you probably made the finals. He got you through those championship games and those semifinals.
Yeah, he missed.
Well, actually, honestly, when we look back
2.5,
just now,
3 games.
the week before, it sounded like he only had 11 points. So Maybe that one game down was enough to not get you in.
Week 15, though, he still had 7 catches for 42 yards.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
11.2 points, sandwiched right between a 40 and like a 38, though.
Right, but the 11 pointers don't kill you. It's the threes that kill you. Who do you guys think was the most underrated this year?
Most underrated running back, Ronald Jones. All right, I'm going to make the case. Nick hates it, but Ronald Jones, again, when he ran, if you watch his plays, he's just a bruising runner. He's got good speed. He made big plays. He can get that breakaway touchdown. But again, he kept getting sat down because the coaching staff is kind of punitive. He'd get a fumble, like he'd have a week, he'd do great. They signed Leonard Fournette, which really screwed him up. I think Leonard Fournette will be gone next year. And again, right at the end of the year, he was coming on. He broke his pinky and he got COVID. Like, I think next year, Ronald Jones is a guy that I will have on many of my teams as a running back that I'm targeting. It could change if they draft like a highly touted rookie, but Bruce Arians hates rookies. Keyshawn Vaughn got a little bit of play in that last game. He looked okay, but like they have not even tried to get Keyshawn Vaughn involved until finally Rojo was out. So
I think my underrated is honestly going to be the number 1 running back, Alvin Kamara. I think until just now didn't realize he's your number 1 running back by 40 points, 45 points in our scoring format.
If you took out that last game, what is it?
If you took, I mean,
can you cycle back to last week?
I don't think I can, but I mean, he put 63 points up.
So that's a big deal.
Right.
That skews the data.
Okay, but still, let's take away 40 points, right?
So that gives him like an extra 2 games added on.
Right, but he's still the number 1 running back just behind Dalvin Cook. So not only he's been the number 1 running back, I wouldn't have put him up there. I would have said he'd probably be around 5, 6, 7. He's your number 1. And you can't necessarily discredit the large game either. Because he won championships with that one game.
Oh, yeah. No, again, just any running back that can score 6 touchdowns is probably pretty good. An interesting comment in the chat, another guy that we touched on, but A.J. Dillon, what he did last night, I think it may have confirmed Aaron Jones not coming back. It's risky to rely on one game from a rookie that looked good in the snow against the Tennessee team, who apparently just didn't realize that they needed bigger cleats and also isn't very good against the run. But, yeah, man, if he comes on and they start getting him involved and he looks good in the playoffs, I could see – it's interesting with Williams also being a free agent. So I thought maybe they could let Williams walk and sign Aaron Jones. Another thing that we've learned this year from the NFL, COVID, that has caused some problems with depth. Who knows what level we'll be at next year? Hopefully it's fully gone, but I imagine that there'll be some lingering kind of protocols where if a guy does this or that, they might be out. But you need depth. You need depth to win championships for running backs, especially.
You do. At some point, people are going to stop paying running backs. I just don't know when it's going to be.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So the thing that works in the Green Bay Packers' favor is if no team is going to give Aaron Jones $14 million. And I've also seen where some running backs, when you switch.
There it is. Cam runs it in. All right. Let's go. Let's go, Pat's offense. We need you. They already hit the under on wins, so pocket's cool. So, run that score. Run that score. Everything you got.
And I need him to keep throwing it to Diggs. So keep running up the score, and let's do it.
Everything you got. Everything you got.
All right. So far, so good. Again,
not ideal.
I had a lot of games though. Like, all right, it's good. In the last 10 seconds, and everything fell apart.
Right.
So that definitely happens in fantasy. You get that garbage time.
Oh, I love trash.
But yeah, if no team is going to pay Aaron Jones $14 million or $12 million, whatever he's wanting, then the Packers may be able to backdoor it for a little bit on a discount.
Yeah. So Green Bay has. As far as like what I've seen about their relationship with him, like I haven't seen any like things where they said, oh, like there's a lot of tension. There weren't any kind of holdout things like that this year. Him and Rodgers seem to get along well. I don't know, Packers fans, like Rodgers as a guy, I've heard different kind of takes. Like a lot of people not on football seem to like dislike him, like ex-girlfriends, which again, ex-girlfriends get angry. I get it. But like, his family, stuff like that. But as far as football, I think the football players like him on his team. So
what's interesting is they spent second-round draft capital on Dillon as a bruising running back for this exact type of situation. They can sign Jamal Williams for lesser money as a receiving, more of a speed back. So they could play them as a compliment.
They would be a good 1-2 punch. I think Dillon, again, small sample size. Let's say he goes out next week and they try to give him the ball like on turf or something against a team that's a little bit better, and he just lays an egg. Then that changes the narrative also. But
I agree. I'll give it, I think 80% odds he's not a Green Bay Packer next year. That's what I'm going to guess.
Yeah, I think it's fairly high too. And I grabbed him in Dynasty knowing that and thinking that his situation could get better because as far as running back value, Green Bay is a good team, but their running backs generally are not like they had Aaron Jones had a ton of touchdowns last year, but like they're just not where you think of like great running back. You think of Green Bay. Green Bay, you think of Aaron Rodgers passing it out.
No, but they had Eddie Lacy, and then he ate everything in sight, and
I get it.
Wasn't very good anymore.
Have you been to Christmas? It's delicious.
And then it's been Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones he's been very good.
Yeah, he's been good. So I believe in his talent. He's still pretty young. He's still elusive. He's got shiftiness that could fit like a passing offense. That's part of what I like about him is he can catch.
But again, it's the offense. I'll take whatever running back goes there. I don't care who it is.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I tend to agree.
Do you think Aaron Jones? Let's say you took out Kamara, right? Saints get rid of Kamara because he's too expensive.
Yeah,
and Aaron Jones. Do you still like him as much?
Oh, 100%. I like him more at the Saints.
Okay.
Kamara is on a contract, so that won't happen. But another place that I liked for him is like maybe he goes to the Steelers. I thought that would be a nice landing spot. I think at the Falcons, it'll be interesting to see what happens with their coaching staff. Like they have they could build a scheme that could use him well if their offensive coordinator decides he has any interest in running the ball. Right now, he doesn't.
Right. Do you know? But the teams paying for running backs are the teams that
they're not always great, but
they haven't signed long-term quarterbacks either. A lot of the teams. So
yeah.
You can pay a quarterback, $35 million a year, but you can't also pay a running back $12, $13, $14 million a year. So I don't know. That's what happened with the Rams and Goff. They signed Goff, they signed Gurley. They were in a pinch. They had to get rid of one of them.
Yeah, my thought of a reason to keep him, and another scenario is I believe they could franchise tag him. So that's very likely as well. So you still got to pay him, but you get one more year out of him. Honestly, with Rodgers and how things are going there, this might be kind of their last hurrah.
But again, with Rodgers there, they rarely have a ton of cap money to spend anyway. I think the chat was already, if we could squeeze maybe 9.5, $10 million a year for like 3-year term, that would work. Yeah, I just maybe he takes a hometown discount because he knows the offense, he knows his role, and he could sign another contract. But I just don't see it happening. I just don't think they can afford it, honestly, and they have other needs.
Yeah, and another one that you brought up last show when we were talking is Miami. So Miami,
are welcome.
They've got a lot of draft picks. They could draft a running back, but if they decided, hey, Gaskins was pretty good, so we can keep him as a backup and we could get Jones, I think that Miami they seem to be wanting to give one guy the ball over and over.
Honestly, Miami is kind of developing into a really good running back spot.
Well, they pretty much went the full rebuild mode, and they acquired a bunch of picks, sold off their assets, and now it's starting to come together a little bit. They got young talent, and I think people, Miami's not a bad place to live to go, so they can kind of draw on some free agents probably, and their coaching staff seems to be doing a good job. The whole Tua Fitzmagic thing is, I was watching some commentary on that on Good Morning Football, and Tua equals guy who the starting pitcher, and Fitzmagic equals closer.
But I don't hate it.
No, if it works, it's fine.
Honestly, you put your quarterback in there to develop, and hey, you're struggling. We kind of want to win this game. We'll put in Fitzmagic to help you along the way.
Football is the ultimate. If it works, you're a genius. If it doesn't, you're an idiot. Even if it's the exact same call by two different guys, if you go for it on fourth down, you make it. Coach, genius. You miss it. Coach is a moron. Right. Even though it's largely on the players to execute. But
Florida is jorts weather. I don't know about no jorts. Mike, you seem like a jorts kind of guy.
So I honestly, in my younger days, had some jorts.
I see you jorts.
I had
cut
zero
off.
Understanding of fashion or anything like that. I had the home
you
haircut.
Had or still don't have.
I still don't. Again, I got a Guinness shirt on. This is a nice shirt.
It is a less wrinkled than mine.
Yeah.
I'll give you credit.
But no, man, our fashion, I don't have a lot of.
Josh Allen to Gabriel Davis for a 43-yard touchdown. Maybe I have a chance in our redraft league. I need him to have about 4 more of those.
Oh, that's a long shot. But, hey.
Oh, I love trash.
Gabriel Davis isn't bad.
But, yeah, no, my style, it's not great. I'm a comfy guy, just athletic shorts and a T-shirt. Nick, just a pink polo and, a parasol. But
here's the thing. I'll give you a little tidbit for next year. Get Gabriel Davis.
If
you like Cole Beasley now, you're really going to like Gabriel Davis next year.
Nick's a fan. Nick is too much of a fan.
Not really. He's really good.
I had to scroll way down the list to find him because I was looking for like a pivot one week, and he was not ranked highly, but
he's very good.
No, Nick likes him, and that team, their offense is starting to get things together. They're passing it out.
And he's a rookie.
So the question: did Mike wear a suit on his wedding? I wore a tuxedo, and I was handsome.
It didn't have sleeves though. So Jones wants to be with the Packers, but hopefully they sign him again. They have to. Banjo, victory is mine. There you are. You got your 6+ points from Allen.
Hold on, here we go. I got a couple for this.
You know what it's called? It's called winning. It's called being a champion.
All right.
A great success.
And again, if you're just joining us, again, I locked up one, so I won one for sure.
Does it feel good to be a champion? Yeah. Yeah, it feels good.
I'm trying to battle Nick. I need some Zach Moss points, some sweet Moss. But again, likely that Nick will get that one. But stand by to see if he pulls it off against. I need Zach Moss to outproduce Diggs by 10 points. And right now, you want an update on where we're at? I haven't seen Diggs do anything recently.
I got it. Moss didn't have anything there either. It was a Singletary drive, so it's still 1.24.
Ooh, all right.
1.24.
I'm there. It's happening. Nipping at the heels.
Makes me uncomfortable. Justice, I don't know what you're talking about in here, but thanks for coming by.
Yeah, let's see it. I was watching YouTube on my calculator, and when I realized I forgot to feed my car, I ran insanely fast for 2 miles per hour just to feed it. Then I had to do my homework because I already finished it tomorrow. It tasted so good. Some of my friends came over to talk, but I'm deaf, so I decided to listen to some music instead, and that's why you should microwave apples. Justice, are you following us? Because if you're not, me reading that whole thing's worth the follow, right?
Or are you Mr. Beast?
Yeah, hey, Mr. Beast.
Because if you are,
if you just want to, donate that $100 million to us, and we will lose our mind for you on camera.
NBA, like your belt and ring, Mike.
Thank you. So yeah,
fan of the jewelry.
Saying that I don't have style, I walk around.
How dare you?
This holds my pants up. This holds my confidence up.
How dare you?
Boom. Bling, bling, bling.
Oh, man. Did they take this touchdown away from him?
Dripping with swag.
Did they take the touchdown away?
Did they take it from Gabe?
I don't know.
Nick needs this guy. No thanks. Give it to Moss.
I'm missing it here. What happened? Where'd it go?
What happened was, it looks like.
If somebody can fill me in, I thought.
Nothing for you.
I thought they had a touchdown.
Thank you for loving the belt in the ring. Like I said, I got this last year for the Family League, and I repeat, so I get to hold on to it for another year. Sorry, Greg, not today. Staying with me. So if Nick will ever let me put a hole in his wall, I can start hanging things up. But it's a new wall, so he's a little tentative.
Well, we'll do one of those hang deals.
We gotta get some of those plastic. If you got some good plastic hooks, just send them over our way.
Banjo says, "Oh no,
no,
what'd they do?" But there's another
just over Diggs' head. No thanks, Diggs.
Another 11 yards for Josh Allen running. So Josh Allen over under was at 30 yards. So I think he is already eclipsed.
Taking the over, yeah.
He's already eclipsed that with
Josh runs
33 yards now. Singletary running. So it seems to be a Singletary drive.
No, thank you.
But Moss is the goal line back. It seems like.
Let's do it.
So just do it. Keep it away from there, or Josh Allen, run it in yourself.
All right.
We need more dogs.
Best award plus ring equals looks better than money for sure. NBA really doesn't like to bet money.
No, that's fine.
That's fine.
You can't wear money on your around your waist, right? I suppose you could.
Some people do that for a living. Congrats, Banjo.
I bought it with the winnings from the league, and I got it for the family, so we could pass something around.
Don't like this. Isaiah McKenzie, 13-yard reception, so 1st and goal from the 4. This is Zach Moss
Feels
music.
Like Zach Moss time.
And this couldn't be going worse.
60% of the time.
This couldn't be going any worse.
Every time.
It would be.
Oh man.
It'd be a sweet win, and I deserve it.
It would be.
Let's be honest.
It would be crushing. You do not deserve this.
Oh, if I pull out the win with the Zach Moss glory play, man. Avoiding the landmine that was Benny Snell with 0 points after the coaching staff was like, we're going to get Benny involved. I don't know which coach that didn't know anything about the team.
Pass short left to L. Smith for a touchdown. I don't know who L. Smith is.
No, thank you. Call that one back and give it to Zach.
Yeah, nope. I think you should just let it stand. I think we just let that one stand. How can you show off if you win money, a couple hundreds? No, it's some more than that. It's
You just
substantial.
gotta light the cigar with the burning $100 bill. I think is the
I think I like that play.
Joe Burrow, if you will.
Okay, so I think Josh Allen still got you your touchdown, and everything's going to be fine. So they go up on New England by 8 now. Smith?
Let's go New England.
Yeah, I don't know who Smith
Yards
is.
and points
Should we
New
make
England.
up Landon?
Louis, Big Lou.
Let's see here. It is Lee. Lee was the
very
answer.
interesting.
Who had Lee?
So right now, the Buffalo Bills defense, because this is one I think where you start with the points on the board, has 6 points. So, all right, just need the New England offense to get moving. Did Damien Harris play today? We should check on that for you. If anybody had that going as maybe one of the late guys that you took a chance on.
I believe he was in the game. Let's see here.
He is out.
He is out. J.J. Taylor has 2 rushes for 31 yards, and Sony Michel had a long one, 7 for 61. That is a big fill. Okay, so it was a lineman as an eligible receiver, it looks like. Big tight end. That's no tight end. He almost owned that ref.
Almost just fell on him.
Right, they're having a good time. Good time on the field. Okay, up by 2 again. Okay, who does he have?
Lee?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Big Dog. He is out. Welcome in, Big Dog. I saw you posted up earlier. Buffalo's defense is weak. Kansas City will light them up. Kansas City hasn't really been lighting up a ton of teams. They've had a few good games, especially as of late. But
we talked about it.
I'd like to see that game.
Pat Mahomes against Atlanta. I think a lot of people had him ranked as the number 1 quarterback on the week, and let me down. So he still ended up with, he didn't crush me. He wasn't the single reason I lost. But again, in my team, I could have really used 30 or 40 more points out of him. That would have helped me out tremendously.
Yeah.
So Pat, that's another reason though. Like if you draft some of these quarterbacks in the first round, you took Pat, and then all of a sudden he gets 23 points. You could have got that out of Mitchell Trubisky passing out the biscuits. Like you could have got that out of all kinds of other guys.
No.
So I made the mistake. I drafted Lamar high just because I love the rushing floor, but I won't do it again. I'm not taking a quarterback before the 8th round.
You've learned your lesson.
And I'll probably get itchy and reach in the 8th. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll still draft one at 4.
They're so shiny and new. They get so many points.
That they are. Oh man. Some other fancy MVPs. Dalvin Cook, great season. Phenomenal season.
Yeah, stayed healthy. That's probably the biggest takeaway.
For sure.
Can he do it again next year? Maybe.
He'll
go high in drafts.
Derrick Henry, tougher performance yesterday, but on the season, just some monster days.
Is this PPR or half?
This is full PPR.
Full PPR. So a guy that doesn't catch the ball, that's just a testament to his touchdowns and just rushing yards. And like you said, when you're watching him, you're worried because 2-yard run, 3-yard run, 4-yard run.
And I'm guessing in half point,
and then all of a sudden he has 400 yards, just chunking dunking.
And I'm guessing in half point he's probably your number 1 or number 2. Not number 3.
And here's the other just point about Henry. Like if you were watching that Green Bay game, they were down pretty heavily where a lot of teams would have, if they were trying to be competitive, would have passed. So I don't know if they just full gave up or if they were just so committed.
No, because they did it the week before.
He was running all the way to the very last 1 minute of the game drive.
They know he's their big play guy.
Running.
Guess what? When you're down that far and they're playing prevent and defense, you give Henry some steam. He'll run right through people.
That Black Eyed Peas song? And what? Henry keeps running.
The guy I'm playing is the guy I bought Brady from at the deadline. He was left with Baker, Tannehill. All right, so you ready for this championship story?
Let's hear it.
This is about 3 or 4 years ago when David Johnson was on his rise, right? He wasn't anything for the first half of the season. I accidentally auto-drafted him at the end of my draft. He was just on the bottom of the bench all year, right?
There you go.
So I had no quarterback. Tom Brady was your number 1 quarterback in the season, was going bonkers. So right before the playoffs, I find out no trade deadline in this league. So a guy trades me Tom Brady, right? I trade him David Johnson right before I think it was the semifinals. So we make the trade. The guy I'm playing against throws a huge fit because now I'm going from some crap quarterback to Tom Brady in my lineup. So they make a whole vote and veto it, right? So they veto the trade. So I got to put David Johnson back in there. I put some random quarterback in. No big deal. David Johnson goes for 40 points.
Yep.
The championship week, David Johnson goes for 65, and I beat both of them. They're all complaining. It was so satisfying.
And that's why you don't veto trades, unless there's just obvious and clear collusion. Because there's been in Dynasty, a lot of questionable trades. There have been trades that I've made that I feel great about. And then, like, a couple of things happen, things change. The worst part, all of a sudden, So
this was a keeper league, and I told the guy that, in fairness, I would make the trade after the season because I still like the way those would go down. That was before I knew how the last 2 weeks would go, and it kind of bit me in the foot a little bit. But
so I had one league. It was my family league where my aunt accidentally dropped Odell Beckham Jr., and she picked up James White. So I was like, oh, no, you can't do that. This was like 2 years ago when he was still just
relevant.
And so she's like, yeah, it was an accident. My dad undid it. And because of how it worked, like, it just made James White instantly, like, pick him up. So I grabbed him. Did better than OBJ, like, the rest of the year. So you just never know. And sometimes we get attached to these names, but let's say you would trade away like Gronk for McKissick like 4 or 5 weeks ago. Great play. And everybody would have been like, what are you doing? So you just never know. Fantasy is strange like that.
It is weird.
All right, let's go to the chat. What do they say
here? I think KC is just a notch above the Bills at the moment. I think the Tampa Bay Gronkaneers is the only team that'll put down Kansas City in the playoffs.
They sure looked good that first half of that game.
I still don't trust the Buccaneers. I mean, Tom Brady looked vintage in the game, but
he's throwing dimes to everybody, and they were all catching them. It's all coming together at the right time.
I hate to bash too much, but I don't trust anybody that loses to the Bears.
That was a while ago, though, man.
I just don't.
A lot has changed for a lot of teams.
Yeah, but that still hasn't changed. I mean, we snuffed out the Rams. We knew they were fakers. We're on to the next.
It's time for Tom to turn it on. He's just drinking his kale smoothies, doing his yoga with his doctor. And
honestly, I think
the
Bills are the only ones that can keep up with them score-wise, but I don't know. Kansas City is very good, and I think they're still the odds-on favorite to win it all.
Yeah, no, Kansas City. Tariq was a little bit kind of banged up, so he had a bad game. Travis Kelce's still looking real good. Mahomes has thrown a couple interceptions lately, so that's a little uncharacteristic. But
NBA says, I concur. Bucks wide receivers are the only comparable core with Kansas City. If Bucks D step up, they can have a shot again. So the Buccaneers are just an embarrassment of riches on the offensive side. Honestly, I think their biggest hiccup is Tom Brady. It's just whatever.
Oh, no.
We've had very bad Tom Brady a couple weeks this season, and then we've had very good Tom Brady.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady in the playoffs, he's getting old, but I wouldn't bet against him, man.
I'm not going to bet against him, but I'm not going to bet on them either.
I'd probably bet on them. Like a lot of things they're doing, their defense is pretty good. Their coaching staff's pretty good. I like Rojo, so if he can get his finger put together and off that COVID list, but he's going to come back and that finger won't work and he'll fumble. He'll get benched. He'll never see him again. But
it's funny how Tom Brady's only been in Tampa Bay for 1 year and he's already breaking like touchdown records and stuff. It just goes to show you how good he is.
Yeah, no, he's phenomenally good. I don't think the only thing you could argue against Tom Brady is just his age. Like he's just an old guy and it's a long season. So we'll see what happens.
We've just seen him a few times this year have some pretty rough performances and we just don't know when they show up. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes he'll have bad quarters, but he rarely has a bad game. And if it's a bad game, it's because the rushing attack was really good or the defense is really good.
I think that's a huge point you bring up that kind of gets overlooked is like Clyde Edwards-Helaire wasn't there and their rushing game. Although Clyde hasn't set the world on fire for fantasy, like I think that hurt their team in that last game.
Yeah, but again, I think Mahomes just does whatever they need to win. If it was on Mahomes' back every week, they could win by a lot more, I bet, if they just were focused on scoring every single play. But I don't know. They're solid. I don't
interesting take, but
I don't think the Buccaneers can keep up with them for.
But again, they're winning. Game. So
true.
Hard to argue against wins.
How can you bet against Brady in the playoffs? He is not a young body, but his old soul is built for the playoffs. Well, I was just looking at Aaron Rodgers. He just looks like some old scuff dude by now. Sorry, Packer fans. But it's obviously knowledge and expectation and reading the defense, and there's so many other factors than just physical characteristics. If it was 100% physical, we wouldn't see a bunch of old white dudes as quarterbacks.
I think, again, like poise, still one of my favorite comments about Mitch Trubisky, and again, it's looked better against bad teams the last couple of weeks, but they talk about like Tom Brady and just Aaron Rodgers, like they're unflappable, and they look at and then I watch Mitch Trubisky, very flappable.
The most flappable.
So,
yeah, you see Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers look frustrated, but they never look confused. They know
what's going on.
Exactly
and
what's going on.
they know exactly who screwed it up, and they're over there yelling at them. And
you take that back. I'm not taking it back. Rodgers has a couple very questionable games this season. Remember the one against the Bucs on national TV? I do. That's why I'm saying the Packers have very glaring holes as well.
Again, it happened to them last year, kind of. They did really well through the regular season. They got to the playoffs, and then it was like all that firepower that they didn't draft for Rodgers, all the help they didn't get him. All of a sudden, the light was shined on that, and it was like, he doesn't really have a lot of guys besides Devontae that can do it.
You can tell if the Packers are going to lose in the first quarter. You can tell because the offense never starts getting rolling right from the first quarter, and it just doesn't gain momentum as the game goes along. Like Tennessee, they'll wear you down, and then they'll score a bunch of points, in the second half of the game. The Packers score early and often at the beginning of the game, and they don't need to do it at the end.
Yeah, it was interesting that what was the game before Tennessee? I think it was Carolina, where they really the first half they were dominating, and then like Carolina kind of creeped back into it, and they fought through it, and the Packers ended up winning. But something about it, just that first half, that confidence gets going. I don't know what it is exactly, but
right.
If you come out and punch them in the mouth, maybe you got a chance. But their defense looked really good. Like that's another thing that people just overlook. You start talking about Rodgers, start talking about Aaron Jones, start talking about Devontae Adams, and it's like their defense is just showing up. And they were showing up against Henry in a big way, and they held him to under 100 yards. And he got 1,000 rushes.
But on that note as well, certain weeks they don't show up at all. Like there's like Swiss cheese out there, and they just can't stop anybody.
What a comparison!
So. Yeah, I understand all teams have flaws, right? That's just the moral of the story. The
You done messed up, Aaron.
The spending cap is what really hampers the teams. Merceau still doesn't want to talk about that.
All right, so what are we on to next?
Give me another subject. I do want to talk about Stephon Diggs catching a 17-yard pass here.
Come on, Moss. I just need that Moss touchdown.
All right, that puts
me. Did he set up Moss for the touchdown?
Nope, that puts me up by 3.4 points now. 3.4.
Can't believe it's this close.
Come from behind magic. I would trust Brady over any QB except Fitzmagic, the real magician.
Oh man! So I went back and watched kind of the highlights because I told people like I was coming off of the Christmas weekend, had done a bunch of family stuff, was just wiped out, so I passed out. I didn't miss the end of the game. Like the two games I missed, I had a migraine. I missed the end of that Saints game where they rallied and had the comeback win, and this one where I was just wiped out from family stuff and went to sleep and missed the end. Like just two amazing comeback wins. Right. And I saw where they grabbed his mask and turned his head, and like that he got unbelievable, just an unbelievable play. For sure. So all the credit in the world to Fitzmagic, and he's just the perfect guy who like he doesn't seem like a jerk when he comes in. Like he's just like, no, it's my job. When the other guy's in, they actually seem genuinely happy for each other.
All right, down 14 points with 5 minutes left in the game. Who do you want as your quarterback? You want Fitzmagic, you want Brady, or you want Trubisky?
And does it matter? Like we just not team dependent at all.
Stephon Diggs 50-yard touchdown.
Oh, that's not what I needed. So that's gonna hurt me there.
Yes.
All right. Let's see if we can find one for
More.
you.
Does it feel good to be a champion? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it feels good.
There you go. You can wear the belt for a second before I take it home for my championship.
Oh my good God.
That's all right. It's not over till it's over.
In all its glory.
But that sure helps
50
Nick out.
yards.
It's coming back on a flag? Is that what we got?
Oh, yes.
Unfortunate again.
I like the way that looks.
Yeah, you just strip off the wedding ring, throw it, take the chip.
And you know it's not a real thing until you see the extra point added onto the end of it. Oh my goodness. Well, okay. So I feel
there you go. That's gonna give you some
so much better. Diggs should really be fantasy MVP. Unreal ADP was 5. That's what I'm saying. He's great. Nick throws his wedding ring. Ringless so far. Mike, hand over the ring. Yeah.
Oh, you want to try that?
No.
It's sweaty.
Not interested. I'll just take the money.
Yeah.
You can keep the ring.
So are we splitting? You want to split in case Moss comes back?
Nope. No, I think I'm good. I just want to watch this play. Hold on one second.
There comes Allen. Drops back. Oh, nobody decides to cover him up. And, man, runs for quite a bit after that. Oh, tries to fall down.
Oh, the foot.
That foot's tweaked.
Oh man! All right, I think that seals it. I'm getting a Diggs jersey for the wall.
Oh, it's not over yet. It's not over yet.
If
we gotta get the Moss.
If I can hold out, it's a Diggs jersey going up on my side.
What's the point differential now? How many points was that? Was that like
that's a lot of points? That's
11-point swing.
That's a lot of points. You're down by 17 now.
Probably need about 2 Moss touchdowns. No problem. No problem.
No, you need 2 25-yard touchdown Moss touchdowns.
This is my nightmare.
Oh man, yeah, Josh Allen for sure. Your fantasy winners besides MVP, I think is a different conversation. We'll go over some fantasy winners here.
So again, part of what factors into that MVP for your team is just how late you were able to get.
Right, James Robinson,
how consistent they were.
James Robinson is a fantasy MVP.
Yeah, Myles Gaskin's in the running.
As much as I hate to say it, David Montgomery.
Yeah, David came on at the right time.
Because people traded for David Montgomery late. Just on. Cents on the dollar.
Well, and also, again, you were able to draft him late because he had a bit of a groin injury, and you're concerned about kind of if he was going to play this season.
Antonio Gibson, I think deserves an honorable mention.
Another thing that just some of those early running backs that we talked about, like they played the whole year. They were there. They were healthy. They scored. They did what you wanted them to do. Like, so you probably had those guys on your roster the whole year, like Cook and Henry.
Well, and the players
huge.
Right. I mean, Kareem Hunt played a huge role in people's teams this year. I mean, that you weren't expecting. So you got some definite ADP advantage there. Yeah. I mean, he's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's your number 8 running back on the year.
Man, it didn't feel like it.
It didn't feel like it, but that's the whole point of this segment, Mike.
I don't believe you.
Naeem Hines. Honestly,
he just had a couple big games. So
a couple big games, but look at this coming down the stretch: 23-6, not very good. 28-10, 17-14, 11, 8, 15.
That's actually surprising to me. I didn't realize he was that good in the end. And we had a team member that I flamed for trading OBJ and Swift for Niemi, and here you go. So that's exactly the one that
outscoring both of them.
A piece of me when that trade happens again. So it's early in the season. All these guys are healthy. Swift is a highly touted running back who's probably going to take over the job for the Lions. OBJ, went in like the 3rd round.
Right.
It was an auction draft. So I think I did the math and it was like $100 swing. And we had just had it. I think this is week 2. The guy just gets upset, trades those guys for Hines.
Right.
A piece of me was like, this is almost vetoable. And again, so part of it that helped though is like the guy that got what I assumed was the better end of the trade. I knew that he wouldn't be he didn't do anything shady. Like I know him enough that he wouldn't mess with that. I've got him in a bunch of leagues.
He was actually on the show.
Yeah. So Chris is a good guy. He wouldn't have colluded to do it. But hey, now in hindsight, everything,
neither of them made the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter.
It wasn't an insane trade. It worked out. And again, part of that's because of injury, but injuries happen. So just again, another
mention.
Don't veto things.
JD McKissick. There's people winning this week with JD McKissick.
I talked about JD McKissick, way better than Ezekiel Elliott down the stretch here.
I don't remember when I made the call, but pretty much right. I don't know. Probably
there was a game when he had 11 receptions where I bought into it. So McKissick, but he was still another one that was just hard to start sometimes
3 weeks ago
because of his name
But
so a reason I said him was Antonio Gibson came back, and Antonio Gibson got started against me and didn't have a great game. He had a decent amount of yards, but still just didn't have a monster.
And JD McKissick was dropped here. 10 points, 4.5 points. He was dropped, and then 18, 11, 25, 23.
Very usable.
So definitely it warrants honorable mention here. Any other ones you'd like to mention?
No. I was just watching the game. Cam takes a little pop close to the sideline there, and hopefully it fires him up and he can score about 45 points. And the Bills defense can.
I think Davante Adams obviously is a fantasy MVP. It doesn't matter where you drafted him; he outperformed.
So Allen Robinson was the guy that we were both a little hesitant because of Chicago. We were worried about just kind of their offense being able to move the ball, what their quarterback situation was going to be. And Allen Robinson finishing pretty strong on the year.
Banjos, I'm giving J-Rob extra MVP vote for sitting this week. Yeah, no, it helps some people, unfortunately. Herbert was a decent QB this year for where most took him, which was through waivers. Right. Nobody drafted Herbert.
No.
He wasn't going to be the guy.
He wasn't the starting quarterback. Honestly, they had Tyrod there. People might have started Tyrod.
Thank God for Herbert. Because if you take away, Eckler was not very good most of the year, but if you take away Keenan Allen, that's a huge piece of fantasy football is a number 1 wide receiver, like a high-end wide receiver. So he's still maintained him all year, and Hunter Henry had a pretty good season as well. I mean,
yeah,
from
Hunter
a tight
really
end
did.
perspective.
So it's one that you could overlook.
I saw a stat. They said between the number 1 and number 2 tight end, there was 52 points, right? Or 48 points. Between number 2 and number 3 was 52 points. And between 3, the point differential between 3 and 18 total was like 40.
Yeah.
So it just shows you there's a 1A, a 1B, and then the rest.
Else. It's interesting. It's worth noting. And Hunter stayed healthy throughout the year. That's been a big knock on Hunter Henry. And ended up on the COVID list being out. But.
Right. Justin Jefferson, I think, is another MVP as well.
Yeah, I know. A great rookie who was playing for the Vikings, took that Diggs role. I think he did really well.
Honorable mention, I think, is probably CD Lamb.
CD, another, as far as the rookies go. Ayuk was a rookie that, showed out at some good times, winning some weeks. So those are probably the 3 big ones that come to mind. Jerry Jeudy underperforming this year. They had a tough schedule. Their quarterback issues. I
think my still most underrated wide receiver is probably Amari Cooper.
Man, Amari, just with Dak there is a whole different story. But with Dak out, he was good. He had touchdowns, but he wasn't great.
He's your number 14 wide receiver on the year.
Yeah.
And here's his point totals the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. 14, 14, 30, 16, 15, 2, 21. So week 15, that hurts a lot of people.
But more consistent than you would expect out of
For
him.
sure.
Kind of his knock would that he would disappear.
Dak went out, had a terrible first game back, really.
Yeah.
But 22, 15, 1.5, 14. So you still had a couple Cooper games.
3 real kind of low.
But for your number 14 wide receiver, you have
he was usable.
3 dud
had him on a
games.
team, and honestly, I wasn't super happy with him. But again, I wasn't devastated by him.
Tanyan was a nice surprise. Yeah, he couldn't win me any money last night by scoring a touchdown.
You know who a guy that was real helpful for my team that ended up going away, and I realized how much I missed him, was Will Fuller. Will Fuller came in, had a really good year for the Texans. Deshaun was doing well, throwing it to him. Kind of emerged as the number 1 guy on that team. Got the PED suspension. He's another one that was just always hurt every year year in and year out. Stayed healthy, probably because of the PEDs, but so again, there'll be a little bit of hesitancy to draft him because he will miss a couple games at the start of next year. He missed the end of this year, but if you can get a piece of him and he's still on the Texans, I still like Will Fuller as a guy that you might be able to get a little bit later.
All right, I want you to answer.
Well, Tanyan was a nice surprise, the tight end for Green Bay, and a lot of people were talking about, I want to say Sternberger, another tight end that they had drafted.
Jay Sternberger from the Packers.
So that was the one that got a little bit of hype, and people were like, they have Jimmy Graham gone, and Sternberger might be good, and he wasn't. But Tanyan actually getting a lot of touchdowns. So Tanyan's the guy that I think will get drafted fairly highly next year.
Just as far as a quarterback note, just to prove a point, Would it surprise you if any of these names were the number 1 quarterback next season? I'm gonna read them off to you: Mahomes, Rodgers, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Allen, Brady, Tannehill, Herbert, Roethlisberger, Lamar Jackson. Would you be surprised if any of those were your number 1 quarterback next year?
So the 2 that I'd be most surprised are Roethlisberger and Brady. Roethlisberger might not even be back next year, but and then again, the knock on them is that they're older, but they are. You can tell us where they were on the list.
I think there's a clear cut 1 in Mahomes, but I don't think there's a clear cut 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd be happy with any of these quarterbacks as my starting quarterback.
So let's see.
I mean, that's 11.
So Lamar Jackson is at 11.
Yeah.
And again, so if you drafted him up in those, round 2 or 3, not worth it. You could have got Justin Herbert, who finished higher at
That's what I'm saying.
very end.
I think you can, especially next year, you can wait in quarterback. I like all of these.
I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to tell you. Don't take Lamar again.
And not even included in here is, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees because of the injury, Joe Burrow because of the injury. There's quarterback is as barren as the quarterback landscape was 3 years ago. I actually think we're on an upward trajectory on usable starting fantasy quarterbacks.
The team where I had Kyler. I had 2 teams with Kyler. Both of them I have a backup quarterback that I grabbed because I was worried about his shoulder. So on those teams I have Kyler and Tom Brady, who should have started Tom Brady on our joint team. And the other one I have Kyler and Tannehill. Tannehill scored a little bit better than Kyler, but also had a down week being in the frozen tundra there.
Big Ben says he's coming back next year. His contract is up after next season.
Okay, so I hadn't
get
heard
traded
that.
to the Bears.
I thought I had heard some just some rumors in the ether about him possibly retiring because of health reasons. The ether. I think that's a thing the kids are
I'm
saying.
like it. I'm into it.
Maybe the old kids.
The older kids.
Actually used ether. That's a different show.
Do you know what ether is?
It's like you put it on a rag and you like huff it. Like
it's also a cryptocurrency.
So. Oh, well, there you go. Now you know the origins. We're all learning together.
You gonna learn today, boy.
Here we go.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, there you go. All right, here you go. Travis Kelce, 312 points. So just for reference, let's see where Kelce finishes.
Are you using a calculator to do the math?
No, I'm gonna see where he finishes
for
on
wide
our
receivers?
total flex ratings. So Travis Kelce is your 5th highest flex scorer,
right above Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
Ooh, man.
Does that make you rethink where you're drafting Travis Kelce next year?
How old's Travis? Man,
I think he's 30.
That's just the worry. So he's right in that age range where it starts to get tight ends. Maybe give him a little bit older, but once a guy's hit 30, you start to see him have like. And what I've observed is more like they'll have a year, they'll have some good games, they'll have some down games, and then they'll get some kind of weird injury. They'll miss a couple games, and that's usually the red flag for me. So if you're in Dynasty, that's about the time you want to unload. But yeah, Travis is so good, and even if he's a fraction of that, but I thought the same thing about Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz was very good, and he was down a little bit. And I'm like, man, even if he's just a little bit of what he was, but Zach Ertz has been almost unusable.
Travis Kelce has one game under 10 points.
If not totally unusable. But yeah, no, Travis was amazing, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with their team through the draft, if they do anything at the wide receiver through free agency. They've still got guys that are around, but I think Sammy Watkins is probably going to be out of there.
Banjo, look, there's already a fight over who's going to get Kelce.
All right, we're all fighting for Travis.
I think if I have any pick later than 5, I'm taking Kelce.
The only...
Give me who you take over Kelce. I know we've done this before.
For a tight end or for other people?
Other people.
Man, I hate to chase the big years, but Devontae Adams, it's going to be hard to get away from him depending on what goes on with the Packers. Christian, I'm ready to get hurt again. Christian's my guy, and I think that a note about Christian, we all wanted him to come back and win us fantasy championships, me more than anybody, but they sat him. He rested. His injuries that he had weren't ones that should carry over into next year. They were a high ankle sprain and a tweaked quad and little things. Nothing where it's like they had to repair a structure or sew something back together. So I'll be back on the Christian train. I'm taking Christian with the 1-1. Again, I'll probably take Derrick Henry very high just because his volume. He's still the heart and soul of that team. He's on the contract. The guys that they drafted, they did not try to play. We're not pushing for snaps.
I'm going to make a quick amendment to maybe my most underrated player. I think it's going to be your number 2 wide receiver is Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill, people drafted him highly, so you had to take him high. Correct. But there was some risk with him. He had a little bit of a narrative of being a boom bust guy, but he's been out there, and if you got Patty throwing it to you, he had a 71-point game. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
So...
But
I
again,
think Tariq's been very, very good.
But he could do that every single week.
Yeah, he did let you down.
If the offense goes through him,
he
could do that every single week.
He's the number 1 wide receiver.
My knock is always on the target share because he only has 4 catches, 3, 6 in his last 4 games.
So, I hate to be a sizist, but I see him out there. He's so short looking.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And I know that he's great. I know that he's super fast and he catches the ball and he gets behind guys. But it's he jumps high. He just looks so short, and it bothers me when guys look small. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was another guy. I was looking at him
he's a little bitty fella.
So it's part of why I probably hate Tariq Cohen. It's he's just too small. Oh man,
but he gets points. So I think I would take Devontae Adams, Dalvin Cook, CMC, and then Kelce. Probably 4 or 5.
Oh man, we'll see what goes on with the Saints.
Honorable mention. I'm honestly, I think Diggs is only going to get better. So I'll take Diggs probably right after.
I don't know if I want to go back to the well on Diggs in the first round.
I'm still pretty confident at.
There's guys I'm out on that'll go in the first. So I don't want Zeke. I don't want Saquon. Cook.
There's going to be value in there somewhere.
If Cook was later in the first, I'd go for him, but I just worry about his health all the time.
He showed us he can play a whole season, though.
He did.
He missed one game.
But every game, if you watch, because I had Alexander Madison, it's every game. It's and he's down. Nope. No,
it's over.
Okay. He's walking on. He's on the side. He's in the locker room. All right, he's in the tent. All right, he's back. He's back. Every week is like, oh, he's just an inch away from being out for multiple weeks every week. Calvin really having a great year. I like Calvin a lot. I worry about how highly I'm going to have to reach if I want him next year. But I think he's kind of established himself as the number one guy on that team. They want to throw the ball. Matty Ice looked all right this year.
Assuming the offense for the Buccaneers stays the same for next year,
I don't think he can do that.
Where do you slot in Evans and Godwin?
I will again avoid them. Like if it's still Evans, Godwin, Gronk, probably not Brown, but they could get him back. You'd imagine. I think he's happy there, and Tom likes him. And
you think
it could be the whole same group? It could be the whole same group of guys.
I think Godwin's your only one that could be gone.
I think I understand that you could have games like this first half of this last game where everybody's getting catches, but yeah, I don't know, man. We got an injury-prone emote in there. I don't know if it's from the game or just the guys that we're talking about. Mike Evans
your wide receiver 12.
12's good. 12's up there.
It's pretty solid.
There's only 11 better than that.
The Steelers are that welcome in Mets rock. Better late than never, right?
Hey, congratulations, Mets. Yep. What a comeback. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you celebrated. We were rooting for them, largely for you. I had the Colts D, who just laid the egg, got me the 0 points. Probably cost me a couple championships, but hey, that's how you play. You play with fire. Sometimes you get burned. I wasn't confident that the Steelers were going to bounce back in that one against a tough defense, but here they are. You did it. You did it.
And now I might have two horses in the playoff race now for
Super Bowl. They're still there. I don't know if I could sell that
Steelers and Rams.
I'd probably
still have both of them.
Ooh, so I don't know about the Rams. We don't want the Rams.
No, not the Rams. Sorry, Seahawks.
Seahawks are in.
And Dallas, there's still a chance.
They flashed their record on the screen, and I was like, I have 11 wins. I don't.
The Seahawks?
I feel like they just disappeared and weren't winning, but here they are. Like, they've won a lot of games.
Their defense, has given up a lot of points, but
they don't come on the second half. It's gotten better. They fixed some things. They're well coached.
Right, and that's why the offense really hasn't had to score as many points. So they really haven't had to press it. But that's my thing. I think they can throttle it on when they need to.
Banjo clearing it up that injury-prone emote was for Cook. So thank you very much.
Gotcha.
I agree.
Gotcha. Excuse me. All right.
All right.
So I think we're probably going to wrap it up here. We got it to halftime.
Yeah, so just a big thank you to everybody who's hung with us. This is again our first season that we've been doing this for fantasy football podcasting and doing the Sunday Live. Very much thank you.
You managed to do this whole thing without talking about Dwayne Haskins getting cut.
So I've got a couple. So you know how they do the pun day on the footballers. So they probably didn't get them in before they recorded it, but yeah. So his career really went down the Dwayne and. He'll be on the side of the freeway asking for money. There you go. All right. Your puns of the day. Congratulations.
Yeah. We almost avoided that whole segment. Almost avoided it. What's the score?
Man.
What's the score of what? Of our fantasy matchup or the football game?
There you go. Dwayne.
Are you not entertained?
The Bills are up 24-9, but my fantasy team is up 152-135.
So Marcy sounds like I haven't read real deep into this. Did you read the crazy info on him and Ron? I heard that they weren't really big fans of each other. Haskins, I know it looked like he came in in shape this season and got the starts, got benched. I saw that he went out and had some COVID violations.
Right.
Was at a strip club without the mask and stuff? Which again, that'd be the place to not wear the mask. But yeah, no, I didn't get the full in-depth, so I'm gonna have to Google it.
We'll have to look into it.
Okay.
NBA Rigged, right. Thank you, fellas. Love chatting about football, live games, both of you. Bring on the belt and the ring, no money. Still no money. Seriously, thank you to everybody. Without the chat, it makes this whole thing a lot more difficult.
A lot more, more fun for us too, and just keeps it going and fun to hang out. So again, we're going to continue to do shows. We'll be back next Sunday.
You cured Marcy's depression. There we go.
All right,
hope we made your 2020 just a little bit better.
Save the money on the Prozac and just come watch the show.
The NFL season's only 3.5-4 months, and from our first couple of videos that we put out on YouTube to now, things have changed drastically as far as
we're learning,
the channel,
we're figuring it
the
out,
look of everything, and the location. So and the viewership. So thank you very much. We hit 10,000 views, over 200 followers. We got another emo coming too. So
We'll take the off season again. If you can't be in here every week, we get it,
Right.
But
we're gonna no pocket tonight.
But we'll be here, so check in once in a while, or follow just religiously, whichever works best for you.
And we'll be in touch with kind of like an off season and playoff schedule for sure. Yeah, because we'll definitely keep streaming.
We'll have some events. We'll do some different things. We'll probably stream our drafts. We'll do some mock drafts. Maybe we could do that even if we could get some viewers in on the mock drafts and things like that. That'd be cool.
Thanks,
so we're figuring it out. We're coming up with different ideas just to keep ourselves entertained, and hopefully that bleeds through.
And if you have more ideas, let us know. Marcio, thank you for posting in the Discord.
Yeah,
and thank you for modding so well these last couple weeks.
You did miss last week, but we forgive you.
It's fine.
We're still BFFs.
It's fine.
So let's all just pray for Moss to get these touchdowns, and call it a season.
Oh man, I can't wait to win this championship.
Right?
I can't wait to do it.
Job's done.
Thank you, everybody.
All right,
we'll see you in the next one.